Patriot Nation, I don't know about you, but for me it feels like time just isn't moving. The anxiety is already kicking in. And honestly, I really believe, and if you're also counting the hours and believe this is our year, drop it in the comments like this. Go Pats, I believe. Let's go. Because what we're dealing with right now is not noise, not speculation, and not one of those made-up storylines that float around Super Bowl week. This is real, documented information straight from the injury report. And it matters because it directly impacts how the New England Patriots are walking into the biggest game of the season. The first thing that immediately jumps off the page is seeing Drake Maye listed on the injury report for the first time all year. That alone is enough to make any Patriots fan pause because this team's entire offensive identity, especially in this playoff run, has been built around stability at quarterback. The important detail here is not just that he's listed, but how he's listed. Limited, not a DNP, limited. And that distinction changes the entire conversation. Drake Maye does have a shoulder injury. That part is confirmed. What's also confirmed is that this isn't something that suddenly appeared out of nowhere after the last game. According to information shared by Phil Perry, Maye was already dealing with a right shoulder issue prior to the Denver game. It hadn't limited him in practices, it hadn't limited him in games, but he wasn't 100%. Then you add in the hit he took, landing hard on his right side, and you understand why his name finally shows up on the report. Still, context matters. He finished the game, there was no visible limitation in how he operated the offense. The lack of deep throws that people pointed to had far more to do with the blizzard conditions than his shoulder. Anyone watching that game knows throwing the ball vertically was never going to be a major part of the plan. The timeline is also critical. The Super Bowl is still 11 days away. That is a massive window when it comes to recovery, treatment, and managing reps. If this were a DNP situation, panic would be justified. But limited this early, with that much time left, suggests the Patriots are being cautious, not reactive. Patriots fans have seen this movie before. 20 years ago, Tom Brady lived on the injury report with a right shoulder issue week after week. He played through it, he threw through it, and eventually had surgery after the fact. This isn't about ignoring injuries. It's about understanding how the Patriots historically handle them, especially at quarterback. Everything points to Drake Maye being fine by game day, even if he's not technically perfect. Where the concern actually shifts, and where the conversation gets heavier, is on the defensive side of the ball with Robert Spillane. Unlike Maye, Spillane was not limited. He was listed as a DNP, and that matters. This is the same ankle injury that caused him to miss the final 4 games of the regular season, and now it appears to have been aggravated. What makes this so significant is not just the injury itself, but what Spillane means to this defense, particularly in the playoffs. Through 3 postseason games, he's recorded 9 tackles, 2 pass breakups, and has been a steady presence in coverage. His PFF grade sits above average at 64.7, and more importantly, he's the Patriots' best tackler. When he's on the field, missed tackles drop. That's not a coincidence. Spillane is the kind of player who doesn't always show up in highlight packages, but quietly holds everything together. He's the leading tackler on the team for a reason. Losing him, or having him compromised, changes how this defense functions at the second level. The Patriots need him, especially against a physical offense. Again, the calendar matters. 11 days is still enough time to recover, but if he shows up as a DNP again next week, once the team is practicing in San Francisco, that's when real doubt enters the picture. At that point, the question becomes whether he can gut it out or whether the Patriots are forced to adjust their defensive structure without one of their most reliable pieces. All of this is happening while the Patriots are preparing for a Super Bowl matchup where every small edge matters. Injuries don't need to be catastrophic to change a game at this level, they just need to affect 1 or 2 key moments. Right now, Drake Maye's situation looks manageable. Robert Spillane's is far more delicate, and that contrast tells you a lot about where the Patriots truly stand heading into the final stretch of preparation. Based on everything laid out here, how confident are you feeling about the Patriots' health heading into the Super Bowl? And which injury concerns you more right now? Now, when you widen the lens and stop looking at this as isolated injury notes, you start to see how thin the margin really is at this stage of the season. The Patriots are not dealing with a long list of names, but the names that do appear are central to how this team has survived the playoffs. That's what makes this conversation different from a typical Wednesday injury report. This is not about depth players or rotational pieces. This is about the quarterback and the defensive signal caller in the middle of the field. And that combination alone explains why this report deserves more attention than usual. From an offensive standpoint, everything still flows through Drake Maye. The Patriots are clearly managing his workload rather than reacting to a setback. Limited participation this early is about preserving him, not protecting him from himself. The coaching staff understands that every rep between now and the Super Bowl must be purposeful. There is no benefit to pushing volume when the priority is having him sharp, confident, and physically ready on game day. The fact that there has been no indication of him being shut down entirely tells you the Patriots are comfortable with where he is right now. They wouldn't take that risk if there were real structural concerns with the shoulder. What's also important is that Maye's presence alone changes how opponents prepare. Even if he's listed as limited all week, Seattle still has to plan for a full game plan, not a scaled-back version of the Patriots' offense that impacts coverage decisions, blitz packages, and how aggressive they can be defensively. From a chessboard perspective, New England still holds leverage as long as Maye is expected to play. Defensively, the conversation is far less comfortable. Robert Spillane's absence from even estimated participation raises real questions about contingency plans. The Patriots' defense has been at its best when communication is clean and tackling is precise. Spillane is a major reason both of those things have been true during this playoff run. Losing him doesn't just remove a tackler, it removes stability. Someone else can line up at linebacker, but replacing instincts, angles, and consistency in high-pressure moments is not simple. This becomes even more critical when you consider the timing. Once the team travels and practices begin next week, every report becomes louder. Every designation carries more weight. If Spillane trends toward limited participation, optimism returns quickly. If he remains a DNP, then the Patriots are forced to make decisions they hoped they wouldn't have to make this late in the season. Those decisions ripple through the entire defensive structure, affecting coverage responsibilities, run fits, and even how aggressive the front can be with pressure packages. And this is where Patriots fans should take a breath. This organization has been here before. They've navigated Super Bowl weeks with injuries, distractions, and uncertainty. What matters most is not what the report looks like today, but how it evolves. Right now, there is time, there is margin, but that margin shrinks fast once practices begin in earnest and the spotlight fully shifts to game preparation. The takeaway at this point is simple, but not shallow. Drake Maye's injury is something to monitor, not fear. Robert Spillane's injury is something to watch closely, because it has the potential to alter how this defense operates if it doesn't trend in the right direction. Everything else is background noise compared to those two realities. Now, I want to hear from you. Do you think the Patriots can maintain their defensive identity if Spillane isn't 100%? And how much confidence do you have in Drake Maye heading into the Super Bowl when you stay grounded in what the injury information actually tells us? Another layer becomes clear, and it's how these situations interact with each other across both teams. This Super Bowl isn't just about whether the Patriots are healthy enough to execute their game plan, it's about whether they can exploit uncertainty on the other sideline while managing their own. That balance is where championships are decided, and right now both teams are dealing with pressure points at linebacker and quarterback, even if they look different on paper. From New England's perspective, the defensive conversation does not exist in a vacuum. Robert Spillane's importance grows even more when you consider the type of offense the Patriots are preparing to face. Linebacker play in a Super Bowl is about discipline more than splash. It's about being in the right gap, closing space, finishing tackles, and not giving up cheap yards that keep drives alive. Spillane has been exactly that type of player during this playoff run. His value isn't measured in sacks or turnovers, but in how few mistakes happen when he's on the field. That's why even the possibility of him being compromised feels heavier than a longer list of minor injuries would. At the same time, this is where coaching and preparation become the Patriots' safety net. If Spillane is limited or forced to play through pain, the defense will not suddenly abandon what has worked. Adjustments would be subtle, more emphasis on clean angles, controlled aggression, and limiting exposure in space. The Patriots have survived the postseason by playing smart, not reckless football. That identity doesn't disappear overnight, but it does rely on veterans who can execute it under pressure. That's why every update on Spillane between now and kickoff will matter more than almost anything else on the report. Offensively, the tone remains different, and that's not accidental. Drake Maye being limited this early is less about concern and more about preservation. The Patriots know exactly what they need from him, and they also know what they don't need. They don't need him taking unnecessary throws in practice. They don't need him proving toughness to anyone in late January. They need him sharp, decisive, and confident. Everything points to the team taking a long view with him, trusting that rest and controlled reps will get him where he needs to be. There's also a psychological edge here that shouldn't be ignored. Opponents see a quarterback on the injury report and immediately start asking questions. That uncertainty alone creates hesitation. Is he fully healthy? Will the offense be conservative? Should the defense press or stay patient? Those questions don't have clean answers, and that ambiguity favors New England. As long as Maye is expected to start, the Patriots control the narrative and force the opposition to prepare for everything. As Super Bowl week approaches, the story won't be about how many names are listed, but about how the Patriots manage the ones that matter. This team has not reached this point by accident. They've done it by making smart decisions, minimizing mistakes, and understanding when to push and when to protect. Right now, that philosophy is being tested again, and the next few practice reports will tell us how much confidence the team truly has in its core pieces. As you keep peeling this back, what stands out more than anything is how controlled the Patriots have been in handling everything around this moment. There's no panic, no public overreaction, and no sense that the team feels rushed. That's not accidental. That's an organization that understands Super Bowl weeks are won by discipline as much as talent. Every decision now is about minimizing risk while preserving identity, and that's especially true when injuries enter the picture. One thing that hasn't been talked about enough is how the Patriots' playoff path has shaped their mindset. This team has already played tight, physical, high-stakes games where margins were thin and execution mattered more than explosiveness. That experience matters when you're managing a quarterback with a shoulder issue and a linebacker dealing with an ankle injury. The Patriots have already shown they can win games without being perfect. They've won by being precise. That's the lens through which these injuries should be viewed. If Drake Maye were a quarterback who relied purely on improvisation or constant deep shots, the concern level would be different. But his success in this offense has come from processing, timing, and decision-making. A limited shoulder doesn't erase those traits. The Patriots don't need him to throw 50 passes or push the ball vertically on every drive. They need him to command the offense, avoid mistakes, and capitalize when opportunities present themselves. That version of Drake Maye is still very much on the table. Defensively, the Patriots are facing a more uncomfortable but familiar challenge. Playing without 100% health at linebacker forces clarity. Assignments must be cleaner. Tackling angles must be sharper. Communication becomes non-negotiable. That's where leadership shows up. If Robert Spillane can play, even at less than full strength, his presence alone stabilizes the unit. If he can't, the Patriots will have to lean on preparation and structure to compensate. That's harder, but not impossible, especially for a defense that has thrived on discipline throughout the postseason. Another layer to this is how little room there is for error on the Super Bowl stage. There are no tune-up games. There is no next week. Every snap is magnified, and every missed assignment lives forever. That's why health matters, but so does trust. The Patriots wouldn't be approaching this the way they are if they didn't believe in their process and their people. This team has consistently shown it understands when to absorb pressure and when to apply it. What we're really watching now is the final test of preparation. The injury report is just one piece of the puzzle, but it's the piece fans latch onto because it's tangible. It gives form to uncertainty. The truth is, no team enters a Super Bowl completely clean. The teams that win are the ones that manage imperfections better than their opponent. Right now, the Patriots are positioning themselves to do exactly that. At this stage, what matters most is understanding how thin the line is between concern and confidence, and why the Patriots are walking it deliberately instead of reacting emotionally. Super Bowl preparation is about eliminating